like, are we all just summer babies right now, not really knowing what this danger is?
Right.
You know, and it's just like, if we're not mentally and spiritually strong enough, and physically strong enough in a way, you know, to handle the winter.
I see what you're getting at now.
Yeah, you know, it's like, we are going to be very in trouble when the winter comes.
Yeah.
You know?
And,
not that I ever want it to come.
Of course, yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
I think we kind of see the end result of that. And it's meant to be good for what is to come. And I think that's why there are some that are kind of like called to do so, like to kind of bring that foreknowledge, just to have like an understanding. And it's really not for the sake of fear, but it's really for the sake of like understanding, like, it's actually good. The result is actually good. We see what's been going on in the world for quite some time now, and without falling into its trap, you could say, and adapting to what it projects and stuff like that, you start to see the truth. If you see the truth, that the truth got you, then I think you can feel safe.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
If the truth got you, you can feel safe, for sure. You know, and I've worked with now, and I always hate talking about my personal experience sometimes, because I always feel like the world that we live in is so judgmental for people who go through hardships.
Yes.
So like, if you speak of, like, let's say I went through this traumatic event, people are like, well, look at me, and now they're trauma comparing.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot, dude.
And I do it still sometimes, you know, and,
Wow.
well, not like I still do it, but it's like I still, like, sometimes think to myself, like, and I have to check myself, you know, that, and this is how I ended up looking at it, as like, so when I was first getting sober, I was looking at these people, and they had so much easier paths of addiction than I did, and I would always wonder, like, why are you even here? Like, if I was you, I would have solved this myself. But then I started meeting people who had it way worse than me, you know what I mean? And I was like, whoa, like, I gotta check myself, because they were probably thinking the same thing about me. And then I thought to myself, like, man, I should be grateful for every person in this world who didn't have as hard as a path as me, because why would I want them to?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So now I live with that consistently.
That's good.
And it's just like, and I still find myself in, you know, my human emotions, etc., that where I'm judgmental, or I'm angry, or maybe I'm having a bad day, woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and someone says, like, you know, I'm like really, let's say I'm struggling with even, you know, something that's really difficult in my life, like and I hear someone else complain something as simple as like the weather. And I'm like, well, that's something that's like we should be grateful for at all times. And I start thinking like, okay, listen, like, you're just not understanding. But then I'm like, okay, listen, now I'm putting judgment.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, should I be grateful for these people who, like, in a way, like, are only bothered by the weather? Because that means, like, they're living pretty good lives.
Yeah.
And, like, I should be happy for that.
Absolutely. And see, and that's the great thing about this walk, is that the fact is, that type of wisdom is for you to actually grow in and come to that understanding. If that understanding can give birth, then that can become a change for you. It can become transformative in your being. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because there was times where if I try so hard to be in control and follow everything, and I realize even if I try whatever, I'm trying to place myself on a throne where I can judge myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I can constantly justify myself in what I do. You know?
Yep.
And I can say, hey, I'm doing good because I'm doing this for so long. But hey, I'm doing bad because I'm doing this for long. But the problem is like, that's out of your control. It shouldn't be in your control at all. Like, at all.
And that's actually why in your video you said that. I loved how you said that line, and it's just, even though you talked a little bit about lust, but you also talked about just corruption of thought. And you were like, who's holding you accountable for those thoughts, even if you're not acting on them? And that really like jumped at me more than almost any line you've ever said, because it made me wrestle with that, like that judgment I do on people or whatever. And it's just like, even though sometimes, and I hate to admit it, you know, sometimes I am doing, you know, the fake smile, because in my head I'm like, I'm angry or I'm judgmental, but I am trying to act in like the way of what Jesus' teachings would be show compassion and understanding, and you can only do that sometimes through some physical form. And I have to sometimes question like, yo, like your thoughts are not genuine right now, and you're being judged for them, even though like everyone else in the world may think you're not. And it's just like, and that's why it stuck so much to me, because it's like, whoa, and that's heavy, and like, You know, and that's, I don't know, it's such a powerful thing to,
It is.
you know what I mean?
It is.
And it's also like, and that's in the beginning of the walks, I feel like that's sometimes, at least for me, was one of the hardest things to sit with, that I was consistently being judged all the time. But then I realized that.
Wow.
And then I realized, you know what, also,
Oh gosh. I know that.
you know, also I realized like, but I'm also forgiven all the time.
Wow, okay. That's
And
good.
you know what I
That's
mean?
really good.
And like that was really starting to sit with me now. It's just like, you can only, but as long as I'm forgiven for my thoughts, as way more than my physical actions,
Right.
like then that I'm winning.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because I would rather suffer, for example, in my mind and be cast judgment in my mind more than like what I've done onto others.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you're in grace. You know what I'm saying? Even the fact that you're able to find these things, we find flaws in ourselves all the time. But the fact that you're not dead for it really shows how much grace is on your life. And it's always the smallest things. It's actually really a bigger picture. And when you actually like when you look at the stories and look at the hearts of like the heart of David, phenomenal. Because you could almost like fit and picture yourself in the shoes of that. He was he knew like everything he did was wrong. Dude, he freaking murdered, he freaking did somebody's wife, got her pregnant, and then got her husband killed in a battlefield just so he could be with her and the kid. And yet he was still considered a man after God's heart, because the fact is, he was self-conscious on what he did wrong. And what he ran to was the one that is considered to hold that authority of forgiveness and the authority of mercy, the one that is grace. Came to him and it's like, yo, I did this, I done wrong and stuff like that. I can't. I messed up. I'm all freaking filthy.